for a piece of dirt. I'm just looking for that sweet salvation.
I'd like to thank our underwriters, Furnace Town Incorporated, Music in Paradise, Veterans List Incorporated, connecting veteran-owned businesses with everyone, the Pemberton Coffee House, great coffee, food, friendship, and music, Mike Pullen for Congress, Pullen4.us, PAC 14, home of extraordinary local TV, Clark and Steinhorn, attorneys extraordinaire. Watch and listen to all of this on the Berry Music on YouTube at your leisure and on the device of your choice. Like Mama said, a life without live music just ain't hardly worth it. See you on down the road. Hi there, this is Billy Earl, and this is the Berry Music. We have the honor today of being at my personal favorite music venue on the Delmarva Peninsula, the Avalon and the Stoltz in beautiful downtown Easton, Maryland. Hi there, it's great to be here. Please introduce yourselves.
Jessica?
Sure. My name is Jess Bellis, and I am the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer for the Avalon Foundation. The Avalon Foundation is the largest arts nonprofit on the Eastern Shore, and it is the nonprofit that, amongst a million things here in the community, also is responsible for the operation and programming of the Avalon Theater and the Stoltz Listening Room.
Wow, what a cool job.
It's the best job in the world.
I bet.
Truly.
It's a great job. My name is Tim Wagon. I am the Marketing Director, Communications for the Avalon Foundation, and I guess particularly the concerts, the theater, and Stoltz Listening Room. And yeah, I love my job.
And I understand you're responsible for all the musical knowledge of Justin Butler.
Oh, yeah.
Is that true?
Gee, yeah, I'll take a little credit for that. Yeah. I mean, Justin was an actor here right on the stage for a very, very long time and did a lot of plays. When part of the beginning of my coming into the theater was I started doing plays here, actually, before I worked here, and with a couple other guys. And Justin he was a tyke, he was a little kid, and but he liked it, and he kept coming back, and we had a lot of fun with him. So, hey, Justin.
Well, he's a good boy.
Yeah,
he is a good boy.
He's a good kid.
How old is this building that we're sitting in?
It was built in 1922.
Okay.
So it was a vaudeville house originally. So it was configured much in the same way, except for it housed a whole lot more seats. There's a restaurant now that's kind of in the back of the theater,
right.
And at the time, I think that the seating was closer to 700 or 800 people in its heyday. Right now, we're about a 400-seat venue, and there was no stage extension. There was an orchestra pit, which was underneath, kind of where you're sitting right now.
Okay. Now that's in the 1920s.
Yes.
What happens after vaudeville kind of phases out?
Well, what's kind of interesting is that the theater remained a movie theater until the late 80s. You can talk to a lot of people who grew up in this community who had their first dates and first kisses and saw most of Star Wars here for the first time. The last movie that aired here was Cocoon, so I think that was in the late 80s. Does that sound about right? Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, it fell into some real disrepair. As I think a lot of downtown
you had the whole
venues.
Yeah, and the movie theaters were coming out and they were getting bigger. And
multiplexes,
all that kind of stuff in all the malls. And so, I think it was sitting here empty for a while.
Yeah, and then there was a group of real innovative thinkers, Mayor Murphy and some locals from around town, Will Howard, who got together as part of a public-private partnership. Again, I think that now we're in the early 90s.
Right.
And it was I think they were really sort of forward-thinking about what this space could be. And the building had a major renovation at that time. It's when the third floor was put in. It's when the basement was dug out. And there are all kinds of stories and hijinks from that sort of massive renovation. One of the sort of unfortunate things about that is after the renovation was complete and a lot of money and effort had gone into it, the nonprofit at the time did not really have a business model that was sustainable. Okay. So along with the theater, there were sort of 3 floors of restaurants that went along with it. And when the theater failed, then the restaurant slowly failed too, because it no longer had any draw at all.
Right.
And I think it was a really sad time, both for downtown Easton and for the people who had put so much energy and heart and forward thinking. You know, I really feel like we owe them a debt of gratitude for the work that they did. They really did lay the foundation for the foundation. And, you know, I think that there are some people who can speak to the failure of that exercise, but really it's what sort of set the chessboard for the massive success that the foundation has been able to have.
And I think it was a prime piece of real estate that they were going to turn into something that wouldn't have been a theater at all.
Yeah, and what just became really interesting is basically the theater became up for tax auction, and the town of Easton bought the theater back from this private partnership, and it was a really difficult move, I think, for the town council and the mayor at the time. But they couldn't let it go. They had invested too much in it, so now they were kind of stuck back with this building. They subdivided it into commercial condominiums, which is still how it remains, with various ownership. Thankfully, the Avalon Foundation now owns the theater and the space that is the Stoltz Listening Room, and also the third floor. And certainly, we would aspire to have the whole building under the foundation's control someday. I think that the possibilities there are endless. But the building fell into some, not disrepair, but it was kind of mothballed.
Yeah,
and
it
then
wasn't being used.
The Avalon Foundation's founder, Ellen Votney, was in town and sort of saw that this was sitting here and nobody was doing anything with it. And she went to the town council or the town fathers and said, what's the story? And I think they probably thought she was totally insane, but I think they were so happy to have somebody who wanted to deal with it that they basically threw her the keys and laughed. I think that they really thought that, again, even in a building that's not being used, you still are called in when the alarm goes off, or when the toilet's back up, or when somebody wants to rent the space. And so I think they were just so happy to hand it over to her, and you can almost say the rest is history.
Yeah, it went to a private. I think the guys in the local government will tell you that. They run governments. They don't run entertainment industry. And
they shouldn't. They're not in the business of fun. They're government.
Right. And with Ellen, it just worked out. She started to, I guess they started a symphony here with Don Buxton, and she got some, people behind her. Everybody was a volunteer, I think, early on.
Yeah, I mean she wasn't even. I don't know how many years it took before she could even pay herself, but. Her background is early childhood education. She was a teacher and, always sort of rich and believing in the arts and live music. And she, I think, was a welcoming soul and believed that everybody deserved to be in this space and that this should be a home for everybody. And I think that, I think that that's something we still continue to sort of put forth.
But one of the things that can happen in this type of thing is that you can get bogged down by stuff that's not going to work, especially when you're first starting out. Yeah. And I think what made it an ultimate success over time, I mean, you keep churning, just like, anything, I think, is that she didn't waste a whole lot of time on people who said they wanted to do stuff, but were never really going to do it. You have to, it's just like in anything. In this business, I wouldn't say anything in this, but, a lot of this business is, okay, let's give it a shot, and before we try to, and let's not just talk about doing something. Let's actually go do it. And you need to surround yourself with people like that in this business, I think.
Sure.
For it to, because you can waste a lot of time, and when you're wasting time, you don't want to do that.
Time you can never get back.
Well, and I think that
it's money.
If you're speaking about a relatively small trade area or a micropolitan area where we live. It's not like no matter how great the production of whatever play that Tim might want to do here, it cannot run for 4 weekends and pack the house every weekend, because you're not going to say, oh, honey, wasn't Fiddler on the Roof great last Friday? Let's go again this weekend. So, I think that right out of the get-go, Ellen was really about saying, okay, how can we really diversify the programming that the foundation offers, something that we still try to do, so that there is truly something for everybody and the whole community is getting served. Because again, I see 150 live concerts a year, but that is pretty phenomenal in the world. So, like, you can't expect every person, right? You can't, I mean, like, I have the best job in the world because I get to do that. But, you know, I don't think that you can expect your average patron to, like, come out to 5 shows in a row.
We'd like you to come once a month.
Yeah, I mean, that can kind of, like, I mean, that would be great if everybody in the whole community came out and supported live music once a month. But even that is a goal that not everybody meets.
Yeah.
A few people meet.
Yeah.
So again, I think that just, it always kind of makes me laugh when you think about like snippets, is if you like cut a week in the life of this stage and think about like what is happening, you know, on it. If it's like, the English beat is here and we've got no chairs in the theater and it's absolutely packed with a banging dance floor, and that's going on until 11:30 at night, and by the morning we might have a kid singer up on the stage with the entire second grade of Talbot County being bussed in for a performance, you know, and then it could go to, you know, the Metropolitan Opera the next day and some comedian in the evening, and you just sort of think like, whoa, we shifted gears really fast.
Yeah, we tried to, that was, and again, I think that's part of going back just to bring it full circle with Ellen, and like making it as be able to touch as many people as you can, and by doing the outreach with the kids and, you know, having a Metropolitan Opera and also the English Beat in there, you're hitting a lot of different people that can consume it.
Well, and putting the community on the stage where it elevates what they're doing, where it feels important. And, you know, especially I think with the children's programming that we have, the ability to be like, wow, you know, I played my trumpet here with the middle school band, and Wynton Marsalis has also played on this stage.
That part
never,
always surprised me. People, the kids and people and their parents, I hear that all the time, and I think I take it for granted because I'm in the building every day. Yeah. Is that it really means a lot to perform on this stage, and I think you said at the top of the show, and Jessica kind of read it with it being the largest nonprofit. This stage is pretty kind of iconic, I guess, in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know if it's iconic, if it's getting there, you know.
Well, I think it is now.
Right. Well, thanks.
Because I wish we had something like this where I lived. When I first moved here, this was 5 years ago, I was living in Texas. And I came back to marry my high school sweetheart.
Very nice.
And so I come back, and I'm used to being in a place where there is live music.
all the time, everywhere.
All the time.
Right.
And it's, you know, constantly turning over. And sometimes, you know, it's George Strait, and sometimes it's a group from Japan that are doing other music.
Yeah. Right.
And so I had to go out and search for places that had, you know, a cornucopia of choices for this. And I was just amazed at, one, this building, because it reminds me of the Fox Theater in Atlanta. And then I started looking at your playbill, and I started seeing the different types of people that you had here, some of whom are my friends. Chris English has played here as his dogs. You've had just, you know, so many different acts. But what amazed me was that this was here in this beautiful little town, and there wasn't just a rush of people from Salisbury or Annapolis or Wilmington or Cecil County or wherever coming down here left and right.
Well, we certainly do. I mean, our audience is as scalable as the performances that we have here. I mean, like when we think about like what demographic are we serving, or like where are people coming from? There are certainly a lot of big name shows where we are easily pulling from all of the places that you're referring to, and that is by design. And some of the programming is while really high quality, is not necessarily, like, you're not going to get in your car to come see some of that stuff and drive a couple of hours, just because, you know, it's just not how people behave.
Well, I think that's what he's talking about.
He wishes
in
people
Texas,
behaved that
you know,
way.
well, you know, you kind of do that, and I mean, you know, I mean, part of it was Easton isn't known for music. I mean, it's not known, although it wasn't when we first started.
I was going to say, I think perhaps change.
I'm just, I think historically, I mean, you know, when we first started, this is a small town.
Yeah.
I mean, is Joan Rivers supposed to be performing in Easton? Right. Randy Newman, Wynton Marsalis.
It is kind of funny when people like name somebody and they're like, so and so will never play the Avalon. And I'm like, you just never know. You really never know.
And why wouldn't they?
Well, right. I mean, again, It has amazed me, some of the people who have been on this stage that I never would have thought that I would be, hanging out with.
And so that goes back to, you have to kind of build it. And I think now, we do zip code reports like everybody has zip code reports. And, we have people coming from Salisbury, primarily from Easton. Our second biggest demo on people who attend is actually from D.C.
Not surprised.
And that has, all of that has been increased because of the Stoltz listening room.
Totally, yes. And what I also think is that in the last more than 25 years since Ellen founded the Avalon Foundation, I think that some of the real music lovers like yourself have really discovered this place, and they make an effort to choose it.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely have really a good set of patrons who are coming more than once a month, who are driving long distances from DC, because really they can't find this experience at their fingertips in this size in the city.
That's
I
right.
think it's a unique, this room is really intimate. The Stoltz room blows people's minds, really, in terms of its comfort and the special experience that you feel when you're in there.
It's a nice room.
It's a very nice room. And they don't have, the music industry does not have very many small listening rooms anymore. They just don't. You have a bar scene that's true. I would even say, and it's not to disparage the Ram's Head or our dear friends at the Birchmere, but it is a really different experience seeing a concert in a venue like this or a venue like the Stoltz Listening Room versus sort of the big warehousey restaurant feel that you get at either of those establishments. It's not about quality, it's about ambiance. And this place was designed, you can hear the acoustics right now.
Yes, you can.
For performance.
There's also something that my friends and I, Mickey Justice and I talk about this all the time. It's a level of etiquette for listening to music. That when you're listening to music, you whisper to the person next to you. You don't talk in a loud voice. You don't clank. You don't clank your glass. You don't make those extraneous noises. You pay attention to the reason that you're there. Now, there are places in Texas that absolutely have that, and some of them don't, but it's a pleasure. It's just, people like myself are so grateful to be in a place where the music is the important thing and all the other social, pardon my French, and this is not French, but BS, there's a longer word that describes that, but we're not going to use it. But that etiquette, that consideration for the people that are making this music and the ability to listen to it critically, it separates it from all the other experiences you have with music.
No, especially in the Stoltz room, so many times the artists on the stage are like, wow, you guys are really listening.
Yeah.
And you think about just how rare that is and how so often live music has become background music. And
I think, too, this is something else, and you talk about the customers and why they're not running here. There is nothing wrong with going to listen to a bar band, going out and having a great time.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to tell somebody who's been listening to a bar band, to bar bands their whole life, where it always sounds the same, and it's basically kind of the same set, and you're in the bar and you're drinking and you're clanking, they actually know you have to sit down. You don't have to sit down, but you're going to enjoy sitting down and watching it and really listening to it, because the acts are of a much different quality than, say, the average bar band. And there's nothing wrong with bar bands. That's not what I'm saying. Everybody has their own place. But people aren't, when we first started doing sit-down concerts here, so we would have a sit-down concert. If Lou Reed, whoever, the Violent Femmes came, we'd have a sit-down concert. Well, they're used to standing in bars and hanging out and talking. People didn't really, we were like, man, I can't sit down in a concert for that, an hour and a half and watch that. And we're like, if the band's good enough, you can.
Yep.
And so that's also part of the getting the people. There's a lot of people that really just like to go out and hang out with their friends on the weekends, and we're trying to offer, hey, you can come actually have a cool time, feel different when you walk out. That's the biggest thing. Music makes you move. There's some physical reaction to it.
It makes you feel, at the very least.
Right. It does something to you, and you're going to get that. And does it change the world? No. Does it help yours for a little while?
Yeah.
I think so. I really do. The guy last night, that was just, people, they came in one way. Okay, well, I'm going to see what this guy's all about. And they left going, yeah!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, people were kissing
I was
each other.
dancing by then.
I mean, and that's what it does. And if you have the booking people like Susie. I mean, a big part of this is Susie Moore, who's been working with agents for 15 years. You just don't get to get Wynton Marsalis. You don't get to get Joan Rivers. They don't give that. I mean, yeah, they'll play. They'll come here for, you want to give, Wynton Marsalis, or I don't care. You want to put Bruce Springsteen up here for $2 million? He'll come down and play for sure. Yeah, he will. But like, you just for the going rate, for the market rate, you don't just get acts like that. And Susie's been working for a long time to build trust that we will get audiences here.
Gotcha.
We can sell this, and there was a little success, and it just keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. I think
for the industry, we have a wildly tenured staff. I mean, pretty much everybody who's a part of the key management team has been working here for more than a decade. So,
that is unusual.
Yeah, in this day and age, I think that it really speaks to our passion for the community and the business itself. But, we've been doing this for a long time, and I think that Susie certainly has built all of those connections, and how to go out and reach and talk to the audiences, and I think we've made some really smart strategic decisions over time. I mean, that's how the Stoltz Listening Room came about. It wasn't like you said, it didn't just happen. Yeah. It wasn't a mistake that fabulous venue was built.
Right, and I mean, and I think just not to cut you off, Jeff, but
no.
Part of it. I remember when they asked, "Hey, do you think?" Because Jess and Al it's a top-down sort of organization, and they asked, "Hey, do you think we should turn?" That was an office at Stoltz Room. It was just an office. My office was in there, and they said, "Do you think we should turn it into a room?" They asked Susie and a couple other, Ellen, all the principal people, and I remember thinking, every place I went in Texas, there was the main stage. And then there was the room off to the side that was like a guy coming up. And so I was like, I had just moved back from Austin. I said, that sounds really perfect to me.
Oh, you lived in Austin?
For a little while, yeah.
When we were, when we came back with that idea, we had been up in New York City, and we were at Joe's Pub. And we just were seeing all this really great live music that were not people who we had ever heard of. But damn, they were so good. Yeah. And we just felt so frustrated that we could not present those people here at the Avalon. Because, let's be really real, as intimate as 300 seats are, everybody's not going to sell 300 tickets. And nothing really feels, I think, worse to a performer, and if you're in the audience, to an audience size that's really mismatched to the space. If you put 20 people in this room, and there's a really compelling artist on the stage, if you're one of those 20 people, you're kind of looking around and saying, did I make a mistake coming here? And I think that the vibe of shows that don't have the right audience balance can get really far off. It's one of the reasons why we configure the room in different ways. Like we were talking about not having seats or having tables. We really want to ensure a certain experience for the performer and for the audience that's in the room.
Interesting.
And so, it's not that the same Stoltz performers would not play for the same amount of money on the stage. It's that the experience for everyone would be materially worse. And so we came home and said, damn, we want to see those concerts in the place where we live. What do we have to go do to make that happen? And that's and we talked to Susie and Tim, and they said, yeah, we want to see that music in our hometown too. And so we had to sort of conceive of how to make an incubator to help grow audiences for some of those people that you've never heard of.
Well, tell me this, and this is probably going to expand this into a 6-hour show, but give me off the top of your head some of the great acts that you all have just enjoyed that have come here.
Oh, this is our personal
your
favorite
personal
shows.
Viewpoint. Exactly.
I just remember I've said this. I was standing up there for Chick Corea, and we weren't selling Chick Corea, and this is one of the backstage. So we had about 180 tickets sold, and I had 10 days to sell another 200 tickets, and they're like, Tim, if we don't sell 200 more tickets to this show, somebody's getting fired.
Wait, you gotta love that speaks to like a really terrible management. But we did have a staff meeting. It was very poignant. I was like, everybody look to your left and look to your right, because if we're gonna lose 15 grand, we're gonna lose one of you. So y'all better look around and take this really seriously.
So and this is before social media. Even it was just email and just radio and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So it was before. Everything's changed. But I was standing right up there, and we sold it. We got it to our max. We got it already here. And Chick Corea.
See, sometimes those threats, they really work. They'll get people moving. We don't issue. Here's my managerial advice. You can issue those threats. You've got to be ready to back them up, and don't issue them very frequently at all, or it's terrible.
Don't ever use it.
Right. This president could take that advice.
Oh God, don't get us started there, please.
So I was standing up there, and Chick Corea's first song, he comes out. And he starts playing chopsticks. And he's playing chopsticks on the piano. And he plays chopsticks, and he's going off a little variation. And you're kind of sitting there as the audience going like, this is really cool. This brilliant. And he plays chopsticks. And about a minute and 20 seconds into it, he stopped. And he hit a lick in chopsticks. And 300 people went, and you could hear it just like that in this whole room. Everybody did it at once. And I never forget. It was just
how cool.
It wasn't people yelling. It was everybody going, and it was just like, whoa, man, this guy is on. And then he just killed it the rest of that night.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I mean, I that was one of the great moments of concerts. I mean, you have a great concert.
Yeah, I mean, I've had great concerts, and I have a story that reminded me of too. I remember when the Avett Brothers came here, and that was another one. It was a long time ago now, and sometimes the way when you contract with artists, you guarantee them a certain amount, and then there is what we call like a back end. So they're making some money, and then you make some money, and then you split the money that comes after that. And it was the very first time that the back end was almost twice the amount of the guarantee. That they had, because they basically were just like blowing up. So when we had booked them, I think it was kind of like we were like, all right, whatever, we'll have these people.
These guys are going to be good. They're hot.
Right, they're hot.
They're hot.
But they got hot right before they came here, and we were just packed, and it was such a great show, and there was so much energy upstairs that I remember going down to the basement, and you could see the floor bowing, which is actually a good thing, because you want it to have the resistance, but you could feel the whole building just kind of vibrating with the energy of that night. And so that's one that sticks in my head.
That show was the most the
energy was just the building was just bursting with it, and there was a lot of young people here, and everybody was just really feeling it.
The press had said they were kind of because they say this about everybody, the Beatles. That was the closest to a Beatles sort of moment. Where
all the girls were going crazy trying to get backstage. And we were trying to run security. I think I was 9 months pregnant.
There was one guy who plays the straight man. The other guy's spinning his bass while he's playing. It was really, really, really cool.
But the moment that I was thinking when you were giving the Chick Corea story that it reminded me of was, and I probably too, because we brought up his name a couple of times, but the first time that Wynton Marsalis played this stage, it happened to be right after Hurricane Katrina.
4 days.
Okay.
4 days.
Okay.
And it at the time was our largest guarantee, the largest amount of money we had ever paid a person. So we had, it was incredibly risky for us, or so we felt at the time. Now we pay people that all the time. It was at a different time.
Right.
But we were very worried about whether he was even going to be able to come, or if he would choose to keep his date.
Right.
And the community banded together here and raised $25,000 that we gave to him, personally in a check to take back to the victims of Hurricane Katrina. But there was a lot of logistics in him getting here, and traffic and all sorts of things. So we have a totally sold out room, and it is getting late, and he has not gotten here. And truly what happened that night is because of all the things that were going on in his world, he was dropped off in the alley right there and walked up the alley and through the alley door here and took off his coat and came right out onto the stage. I mean, he shook our hands and gave us hugs. And what was just so funny is walked out and he got a standing ovation, but I don't think that anybody in the room had realized that he like truly was like walking out of the car and had never seen this space before.
Right.
And I just remember him catching his breath and then saying, wow, this is really cute. Because like who knows what he was expecting coming out that dirty alley. Like he probably didn't even have any idea where he was at that point. You know, he'd been going and going for days, and like I can just imagine what thoughts must have been going through his head as he takes a deep breath and like
I forgot that.
truly comes from the car to the stage. This is really cute.
That's giving me chills up my back.
But that was a really special night.
And then of course, we've had guys come up here. You had Derek Trucks come up here and just rip up.
Yeah.
Dickie Betts. I mean, you know, if you're looking for.
Although when he put out a cigarette on the stage, I thought that Ellen Botany was going to come and personally kill him. But
I'm just looking for a 4-leaf clover. I'm just looking for a piece of dirt. I'm just looking for that sweet salvation, a one-piece heart that you just can't hurt. I'm just looking to go to heaven. I'm just looking for a good use forward. I'm just looking for an old resonator. I'm just looking for a flame.